Alright, welcome back to the Simulacrum. I am your host. I'm going to be talking about status chance, elements, and the Tigris today. So yeah, let's get right into it. This is the Tigris. I forgot to put Prime Point Blank on here. Let's real quick look at this thing and see what it does, and then we'll go over how it does that, and then why this weapon is overrated, but still incredibly powerful because it abuses a bunch of really broken systems. Look, bang, one shot, look at him, he's dead. Wow. You're probably gonna die. Nope, you're not gonna die. That's gonna kill you. Yoink. Blown away. Napoleon blown apart. Wow, you're dead. Look, Bombard's out of slash. Shoot with a funk it. Slash viral builds kill things with low health. So yeah, that's what it does with a Prime mod and a really meta build with multiple forma. But if it one-shots stuff, why is it bad? Well, you know what else one-shots stuff? The goddamn Lanka. Lanka isn't a meta weapon. Lanka's a weak weapon. It's a bad weapon unless you're doing Eidolon hunts, in which case it's super helpful, but we're not doing Eidolon hunts 90% of the time unless you're one of those sweaty nerds who just played as a game for Eidolon hunts, in which case, why are you watching a build about basic status chance in the Tigris? Yeah, so the reason this can do that is due to a bunch of different mechanics working together very well. The Tigris, and fitting the name and the look, is a very fine-tuned machine. It abuses a bunch of broken mechanics to kill high-armored, non-boss enemies super well. But real quick, let's talk about why this thing really isn't very good. People call this thing the King Shotgun, but I think that's a really bad misnomer because this is only the King Shotgun if you're looking at its damage. In the same way that, say, the Lex is the King Pistol because of its damage. Aside from its damage, the Lex falls behind most other weapons and almost every other thing. Like, the AK Lex is nowhere near as good as the AK Magnus, as far as time to kill, or DPS, or Riven disposition, or ease of use, or supporting stats. Yes, it hits harder, but in every other way, you're going to one-shot most enemies with either weapon, so use the easier-to-use weapon. Up to Sortie 3, you will one-shot as many enemies with Soma Strun Wraith as you would with the Tigris Prime. And this thing has a 10-round magazine, a higher fire rate, deals with groups better, reloads more efficiently. So yeah, this is an objectively better weapon for most content. This built for bleeds, can tear through. Let's show you. We'll just show the full force. And people, before you say, "Oh, well, you're using a Riven, of course it's gonna be good." Well, yeah, this thing has a high Riven disposition. That's one of the reasons why it's so good. The Tigris doesn't have a Riven disposition. That's not like an insult or something. It just doesn't have one, and that's a downside to the weapon. This is 100 munitions. This is a standard build. Aside from the Riven, this is not particularly fancy. No buffs going on. We can have gas procs too, but you can see much higher value slashes. Without viral procs, it can outright just one-shot these guys. Yeah, the slashes aren't as reliable, but you put 2 shots into somebody, they're gonna die. And these guys over here should die in 1 shot. 1, 2 slashes. Yeah, there we go. You get the point? Like, on top of being much better at, you know, crowd control, group clears, it can do gas. This isn't a gas build, but my Riven has Toxin on it, and I use a mod to increase I use Blaze, so it does have gas damage. This build right here, ironically, the one I have now with a Toxin damage Riven and Blaze, you could use the gas secondary fire, because this is high status, to kill small enemies, and then rush, shove, and barrel stuff with this thing to just kill anything heavy. And this thing will handle way more content easily than the Tigris will. And it'll handle groups. But, this will technically one-shot more enemies. Technically. And will do it much more consistently. Let's talk about why now. Let's go into why this thing, well overrated, is extraordinarily powerful. And it all comes down to how status chance works for shotguns, the Tigris Prime's affinity with status, and Slash and Viral's crazy synergy. So first, let's talk about Slash. Slash negates all armor. Slash procs. Even if you had a negative status duration Riven, the damage from the Slash procs would just negate the armor, meaning this thing would do a lot of upfront damage. And then Viral cuts enemies' health in half. Basically, that means your Slash procs do double damage because they have half the health to go through. As long as the Viral proc is up, downside of Viral, if it wears off, they get the health back, which is bad. It's very, very bad. That will destroy your damage output. Radiation procs, CC them. They're pretty simple. And the secret for this is you want as many Slash procs as possible and as few procs for everything else as possible, but you still want to guarantee one Radiation and one Viral proc. Sweeping Serration. Without that, you have a much lower ratio of Slash procs to everything else. With Sweeping Serration, you're going to get almost exclusively Slash procs with just a handful of everything else. Usually one total impact or puncture proc, and then 2 or 3 Radiation and Viral procs. Which is just, it's nice. It's nice. And we'll get a freaking bucket of Slash procs, which you could see out there. You could see the first testing worked pretty well. And why is that? Why are we getting so many more Slash procs to Radiation and Viral procs? If it's only 18, it's like a 6,000 damage difference. That's not that high. When calculating status, Impact, Puncture, and Slash, IPS, as I call them, are multiplied by 4 as values. So, as far as the computer's concerned, we have like 70-something thousand Slash, 4,000 Impact, 4,000 Puncture, then 12,000 Radiation Viral. That's why we're getting so many Slashes, is because it's just an astronomically high value. So yeah, we're getting a bunch of Slash procs, a couple Radiation Viral procs, and not many Impact and Puncture procs. That's why this is so good. These procs we don't want, the Impact and Puncture, so we don't get a lot of them. And then the rest of them, we want a few of these, we get a few of those, and we get a lot of these. That's how the Tigris works, and it's good. It's good at the one thing it does, which is killing one enemy. Before you elitists come out of the woodwork and say, oh, you gotta put Seeking Fury on no. This isn't a group clear weapon. Don't build it and try to force group clear onto it and then tank your damage output. All of this is important. This is basically a set in stone build. And look, the Rivens are terrible. The one exception for Rivens is if you could find a multi-shot damage or multi-shot reload speed or something like that with a negative, powerful enough to replace Vigilante armaments. The only Riven I would accept for this thing is multi-shot and something else with a negative, and that would be a flat upgrade to this. And even then, it wouldn't be much of an upgrade, unfortunately. So yeah, let's talk about status for shotguns now. Status for shotguns functions like so. But let's get a blank Tigris build, and I'll show you. Blank Tigris fires. We got 66% status, by the way. Fires 8 pellets. See that? 8 pellets. And we get 66% status chance. But that is called shot status chance. That is not status chance per pellet. Per pellet, it is divided. Let's get a old calculator out and divide that. So, 66, that's, hold on a second. 66 divided by 8 is 8.25. Per pellet, you have an 8.25% chance to proc an element, which is not very good. And you'll see that here. Even though we are firing a bunch of pellets, and we have a pretty good per shot chance to proc status, we're actually not going to get... Look, we got no procs there. None. No procs. We're going to get a couple here. We got a couple slash. A slash proc right there. 1 slash proc. Wow, 1 on you too. Oh, we got a viral. You see? Even though our status is pretty high and we're firing a bunch of pellets, we're only getting a max of 1 to 2 procs per shot. Let's add some multi-shot in there. Watch. Our status goes up, but it only goes up because we're firing more pellets, not because our status is actually going up. Basically, now we're firing like 16, 17 pellets, but we're still got that 66% status chance. So, we're still getting 8.25 status chance per pellet, but we're firing so many more pellets, we're getting a higher status chance per shot. Now, this all changes. This all changes when you hit 100%. And I'll show you. We're not at 100% before multi-shot, you see? We're going to put the multi-shot on. And you've seen this already, but let's go back and show you again. That's a lot of multi-shot. And it's a lot of status chance. And this is going to jump from proccing 1, 2 to proccing all of them. That's a lot. That's a big difference. You notice we're actually doing pretty decent damage despite having no damage mods on this thing. Yeah. That's the difference between having good status chance and the required amount of status chance for a shotgun. Status chance weapons are also pretty good in this thing, but here's the issue. You would need at least 60% status and 60% of an elemental type to replace one of these 60-60 mods. I don't think you could get that on a ribbon with this low of a dispo without really tanking your performance. This thing can run with only 1 forma, maybe with 0, and maximum of 1 if you're not using primed mods. Look, if you want to build this thing with primed mods, even with all of this, room to spare. Like, we could just remove the former for this, and we'd still be fine. And then if you replaced, do the math. So if it was 7 here, so that'd be 3 more. We have 4 to spare. Yeah, you could do this with no forma. This build right here, 0 forma investment, which is nice. And then of course use a sweeping serration to get a proc priority higher for slashes. And we use all of these to get status chance, multi-shot to get more procs, and then damage, obviously. How is that different from rifles, though? Well, this is the Velt. The Velt is a hybrid rifle, and with 4 dual stats, 3 dual stats, it gets 61%, which is pretty close to the 66. But you'll notice that the status chance per shot is, much higher. Like, we're getting way more status procs here, despite that we're only firing like 1/10 the rounds. But the real kicker is when we add multi-shot, because it's not dividing the status chance, it's just 61.16 for every shot. So now we're getting that for an extra 9 out of 10 shots. We're getting an extra bullet, so we're getting that higher status chance. Look at that. Look, we already got 3 procs right there from 2 rounds. Where else we go? Let's see the level about it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you see how many procs are going off. We got a bunch of slashes, some heats, all that jazz. So, an easy way to think of it is, for rifles, you want enough status chance to go, that's good enough. Like, that's really should be your thought process, is going, that's good enough. For shotguns, you need 100% status chance, with 2 exceptions. One is the Astilla, which I went over 2 videos ago. The Astilla uses rifle status chance, meaning it's a projectile. It's like a single round, so the status chance doesn't need to be 100. It still likes 100% status chance, but it doesn't need it. The second one is the Corinth. Now, the Corinth cannot hit full status on its primary fire, so before you get on me about that, it can't do that. What it can do is it can use its alt fire to proc status. I'm going to show you that. So we'll get rid of you, and we'll get rid of the crit mods, and we'll throw on some status. So go Toxic Barrage, Scattering Inferno, and Contagious Spread. So, our primary fire is not going to get much status, because you can see our status is really, really low, and we have a bunch of multi-shots, so it's going to be divided by all that. Not very good. But our alt fire functions like a rifle. And I'll show ya. I'm going to show ya. Look at this. See? Lots of gas procs. This is one of those beautiful shotguns that is, like, tolerant to status build, so it doesn't need full status. See that? That is just... See, but we're not getting any procs with this. We got 1 gas proc out of all of that. Get a picture? It's a pretty good picture. So yeah, closing remarks. Tigris Prime hits like a truck, is unflexible on its builds, Look, I know, say closing remarks real quick. The meta corrosive build. Everyone loves it. Everyone hates it. Corrosive status shotgun. It kills stuff. Like, yep, that works. You'll need 3 shots to get all the procs you want. To like fully armor strip them, so we do indecent damage. But you know, it functions. It works. Don't know why you would use this over the viral one. We saw worked way better, but if you wanted to, you could. That's pretty simple. So yeah, when you understand how status shotguns work, they're very simple. They're very simple weapons. The thing is, there's a big skill curve with learning how weapons like that function, and it's very important to understanding how the game itself works, because status shotguns are the meta right now. I mean, if you want me to tell you the most meta weapons in the game, Tigris, Strun Wraith, would be 2 of the top meta weapons. Like, very potent firearms. But yeah, that's about it. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I hope that this explains status and all that stuff to you. I did my best. If you have any questions, leave them below. That's about it. Deuces.